And we are back. We are the Coalition, loud and proud. As always, Outrage, born and free. Broadcasting live here in a beautiful early summer evening on the magical streets of the Renaissance city, La Prove, Providence, Rhode Island. I believe this is the PVD Fest week, and this begins really a week and it's two of nonstop partying as we segue from PVD Fest right into Pride. This is Pride Month, but Pride Weekend. Listen, folks, if you live in this area, this is what you live for. The arts, music, dining, adult beverages, every form of entertainment imaginable, from PVD Fest to AS220 on up to all the events, the parties, the outdoor nightclubs surrounding Pride Week. And of course, the amount of pride locally that's registered in Pride Week. As significant as the contributions are from the LGBTQIA community, during the year, we recognize them routinely. They're part of the community, part of our life. They're part of the fabric of this city. We take a special few moments out next weekend to celebrate, to commemorate, and to honor. And by the way, we will be having a special guest next Friday night to talk about some of the controversies that are brewing up in the Boston area. But joining me live right out of one of the PVD Festival opening sessions is someone who's, again, no stranger to the Coalition. Sharon Steele, it was just a few short weeks ago you were on, and we were talking a happy talk. We were having happy times, celebrating. Olin Thompson was in studio with us. A great series of conversations about the bridge, about the Jewelry District. What the hell is going on? What happened?
Radio interview. Pat Ford.
Hey, you're live on the air. Hey.
I'm live on the air from PVD Fest.
Excellent. So what is going on here in Down City? What happened this week up at Halitosis Hall, and what's going on with the bridge, and why are people trying to, drawing all sorts of nasty analogies to this beautiful bridge? What's happening?
Okay, so I'm going to give you sort of the Reader's Digest version. The Senate President, better known as Mr. Ruggerio, has a bill. It's called S0803, A like Apple, because they provided an amendment before the judiciary hearing on Tuesday, which, by the way, we lost in an 8-1 ruling. Thank God for Senator Jessica de la Cruz from Barrville and Smithfield, who voted against the Senate President. So let me give you the sort of the lay of the land here. This bill is literally going to change what happens to every city and town in the state of Rhode Island where there are 20-plus contiguous acres. It will represent the most sweeping changes to the way each city and town decides its future. No more comp plan, no more home rule, no more deciding on one's destiny. This is a bill that was birthed in anger by the Senate President, a clear overreach by the state, retaliatory in nature, clearly serving as an attempt by the Senate President to change the rules of the game when the legitimate legislative processes didn't quite go as he desired. He feels personally affronted by the success thus far of the opponents of the Fane Tower, and that would be yours truly and the vast majority of the citizens of Providence. So he decided to inflict pain on every city and town as the bully in chief. So he's allowed basically the priorities of his day job as a labor leader to undermine his duty as the elected officer of the state. So instead of protecting our rights, he's protecting the rights of his own followers over the rights of all Rhode Islanders, not just the folks in labor and the construction industry. So he likes to say that he is streamlining a process. In fact, he's steamrolling a process. His behavior, frankly, represents the worst that Rhode Island has to offer. It reinforces every bloody stereotype that the rest of the business world thinks about Rhode Island. So it's still about who you know, not what you know. It's about pay to play. That's the only play they have. It's the only thing they know. And they're going to continue to use these tactics to ruin our economy and destroy our democracy. So the question becomes, have they no shame? And the answer, as you well know and I well know, because we've talked about it, is sadly, they have none. So what is this about? It's about grassroots efforts once again. It's about Margaret Mead bringing out everybody. It's about, this is a personal call to action. There are 38 senators. They're going to decide our fate next Tuesday. And you know what? We can't allow them to decide on our fate. That's our decision to make, not the senator's decision to make. Those senators are supposed to represent their constituents, and their constituents don't want this to happen. This is a decision that belongs to every single Rhode Islander who exercised a right to vote. So we put those 38 people in office, and the same way we put them in office, we can remove them from office. So yes, this is happening in Rhode Island, and the sad reality is it just proves it can happen any place. So this is, in a nutshell, what is happening. What happens after the Senate? Well, then, of course, comes the House. Thus far, there is no companion bill, but I'm quite sure that they will remedy that in short order. So what does it mean? Everybody needs to get on the phone, call their state senators, and literally say, the buck stops here. Our decision, not your decision. We control our destiny. We control our fate. Every city and town has a right to do that. It's our right. It's our constitutional right. And we are going to stand up and make sure that that happens.
Now, if this, God forbid, gets passed, and we're going to try and put something up on the website this weekend to give people an opportunity to react to this, you're effectively saying that spot zoning can become the law of the land. That you're effectively saying go ahead.
You
please.
are right. We are saying that they have literally thrown the entire planning process in every single city and town, the entire comprehensive plan, the entire home rule, the entire Rhode Island Constitution. They have shredded it. They intend to take it over. Why? So that the Senate president can dole out his favors to the construction industry, and he can be the person who chooses what happens.
Wow.
That's not the way a democracy works.
Have you gotten, this is only a couple of days old, have you gotten much reaction from let me draw a parallel. We recently
The
just
cities and towns are furious. And as a result of that, part of this amendment tried to win some of them back by saying, oh, we won't touch your beaches. We won't touch the property that is within the control of DEM. That's not the point. Look at what Alan Fung said for Cranston. Look at the cities and towns that have tons of state land within their cities and towns, within their municipality, okay? Those are the people who will be hurt most by this.
Wow. So years of efforts in developing comprehensive plans for communities to create opportunities for economic development to just basically thrown out the door, thrown out the window. You know, it's a case where the state will literally build at will, develop at will, as they see fit, with little or no interference from, I don't know, town zoning boards, master planners, urban planners. everything in a sense that's creating some really great opportunities for people is just been trashed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a mayor who ought to have a say in what happens in his city or town, or her city and town, town managers, town councils, this is literally usurping every single authority that was held and is sacrosanct within those cities and towns, okay? In Providence, as an example, that comprehensive plan was 3 years in the making. Every single community took part. Consultants came in. This was best practices. Those were the decisions that were made. Now, the Senate president likes to say, well, you know, why is everything taking so long for Fane? Well, why it's taking so long is if he had followed the rules and designed a building that was 100 feet, he would have had the bloody thing built by now. But no, he decided that he wanted to do what he chose to do and decided he didn't need to pay attention to those rules. So that's the only reason that this has taken longer than any other process. So the Senate president would like you to think, and like everyone to think, that, oh, he is doing this for the good of all the cities and towns. In fact, this is his power play, literally, to shove the Fane Tower down all of our throats. That is really what this is about.
We've got two avenues of approach on this. Number one, it still has to be coming up before a Senate vote. Sadly, history would tell me that if it comes to a vote, he's already got the votes. I know you hate to hear that, but sadly, let's just call this the rule of the bully pulpit, right. The operative word being bully. Right. Now, on the other hand, where there's a tremendous amount of opportunity is on the House floor.
Correct.
Right. Where it will have to appear before the House Judiciary Committee, I would imagine, at the very least. And,
correct.
And there, at least, you've got the opportunity. I mean, when you talk about Cranston, for those folks who think that Mr. Speaker and the mayor of Cranston aren't buddy-buddy, you're well, party lines mean nothing in Cranston. Cranston's its own unique political animal. So clearly, not only should pressure be exerted at the Senate level, at the larger level, but clearly pressure needs to be pointed laser-like, if you will, at House Judiciary, because that is the next line of battle. Folks need to understand that, and I'm just as guilty of this at times, that the time to really mount the opposition is at the committee level. That's where you can just beat the snot out of something. And
Precisely. And let me tell you, we filled the room at Judiciary on Tuesday, and we actually even brought signs, which of course they advised us if we didn't take them down, we would be removed from the room. So we were not allowed to speak, and that's just the way they decided to enforce the rules.
So anyway, let me understand this correctly, and shame on me for not being there. This was strictly presentations were made to the committee, and by the way, and again, you and I are catching up after kind of missing each other for the last week or so. Again, shame on me. Who was allowed to speak at the committee hearing?
The unfortunate thing, Pat, is that this was originally heard on May 2nd. The sad reality is nobody knew it was going to be heard on May 2nd, and as a result of that, no one spoke either for or against the bill. So when it came to Judiciary on Tuesday, it was merely in Judiciary for consideration, quote unquote, and a vote. So the common practice is that there is no testimony that is allowed at that point in time. We asked to be heard, and we're told no.
Wow. Oh. Yikes. Well, it's time to weaponize the body public here.
There you go. It's time. This is the call to action, and this is where we need every single person from every single city and town. Because remember, this isn't about Providence. This is about 39 cities and towns all across Rhode Island.
Right. And the ability for each individual community to essentially control their own destiny, for lack of a better term.
Correct.
Because
that decision is being unilaterally removed by the Senate president.
Right, and let's think about this logically. You've got the opportunity then, particularly when, and I guess, as I understand the legislation, and please correct me where I'm wrong, because that's the point. That's why I love to have you on, because you're clearly emotional about this, but your conversations are rooted in fact, and that's, quite frankly, we need more of that here in Rhode Island. This is going to, if in fact there is a presence of publicly owned land, whether it be through one of these quasis that seem to be everywhere in Rhode Island, or directly under the control of the state, then what you've got the opportunity here is for a grotesque shift in zoning, and we'll take it to the logical extreme. If it's state open spaces, and it's not under the control of, say, a open space committee, it's not owned by them, it's owned by the state, and it's not owned by DM under this legislation, but still it's somehow under Department of Business Regulation, Commerce Corporation, who knows, you could have open space turn into industrial space. Is that a fair statement?
Right, but you're talking about the normal development processes that are handled by professionals being turned over to the legislature. What's wrong with that picture?
Right. And we've got a legislature that between the educational, and I use air quotes, reform, between this type of legislation that is started out from a position of constitutional strength, is clearly hell-bent on eliminating the other two branches of government.
Correct.
You've got an activist legislature that's so out of control in this state that they will literally run everything. There will be, as few checks and balances exist now, there will even be fewer. Yikes.
So all I can tell you, Pat, is that is it in a nutshell, and we need every single person to get on the phone to their senators and to their representatives and say absolutely no to this travesty.
There you go. Well, and now has the League of Cities and Towns weighed in on this yet, or have they?
They have. We have heard. We have been communicating with them by way of emails to cities, to towns, to city and town councils, to city and town managers. I mean, literally, the word is out.
All right. Well, it's time to roll up our sleeves and, as they say, get to work.
There you go.
There you
So
go.
once again, I can say thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for listening. And thank you for allowing us to speak and communicate to the residents. Because at the end of the day, this is about we the people. And we the people are those who make the decisions.
All right. Well, I'll be in touch with you this weekend. We're going to take this. We're going to take the videotape from a couple weeks ago because it's very informative, and we're going to put something together. And we're going to take on the state senate, but just as importantly, the preemptive strike we have to make is that House Judiciary.
Absolutely.
Just because ultimately, Mr. Ruggerio may have had his day, but there's still a battle to be fought, and we're going to do whatever we can to help.
Right. It will next be in Speaker Mattiello's court.
There you go. And
okay.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, and try to enjoy PVD Fest. I know you're out there working. You may be at PVD Fest, but I know that you're working this as hard as anyone I've seen.
You bet. I am working the crowd.
There you go. God bless you, Sharon Steele. She is a warrior on behalf of your rights as a community to do nothing less than control the rights and destiny of your community. And when you have extra legal participation, if you will, and Sharon, I'm going to give you a minute or two to make a final statement here, but it's up to us, not only for self-preservation to protect our rights, but also the honor to work of activists like Olin Thompson and Sharon Steele to join in. It's not simply good enough anymore to expect somebody else to take this over. And, quite frankly, if in a year or two from now, God forbid, if some iteration of this moves forward and you're upset, well, you had your chance. Now is the time. Step up, make a few phone calls, break yourself out of your little bubble. We all have to do it because it's your community as well. Listen, I want to close on this. Sharon, take a minute or two, if you will. If you had the opportunity, if Mr. Ruggerio was sitting right in front of you, what would you say to him?
Right now, I would say, Senator, you have had a long run in this town, and you could do something that would create a legacy where people would sit back and say, at the end of the day, he made the right decision. He did what was right for his constituents, for the cities, for the towns, for the state of Rhode Island, for our future and the future of his children and grandchildren. Make the right decision. Pull this bill.
There you go. Sharon Steele, God bless you, and we'll be talking to you shortly.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Wow, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Joining us at 8 o'clock, John Phillips, Libertarian candidate. Through the miracle of Skype, he'll be joining us. And we're going to talk about Kim Ruff, her appearance on Judge Knapp this week, and the future of the campaign. But I want you to take a moment and really absorb what Sharon and Alicia have been talking about tonight. Ultimately, responsibility rests within the citizen to advocate for the rights, the fundamental rights of theirs and their communities as part of a larger government. As a libertarian, this is one of the reasons why, I oppose government. When you have someone hijacking government for the personal gain of a few, using the coercion and force that government holds over everyone else, this is what you get. In the meantime, however, we have a system, and we have to work the system, while at the same time, those of us work fundamentally to change the system. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Media Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city we love. It's PVD Fest this weekend. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership at coalitionradio.us. Want to appear on the show as a candidate or as an activist? Reach out to me at pford@coalitionradio.us. For those of you who've taken the time in the last few weeks to like us, follow us, we appreciate that. The bread and butter of indie media is our ability to somehow reach through this cloud of white noise, some great programming, some less than great programming, to reach out to you and connect you with the people that appear on this show. You taking those few moments to like and share our page and follow us makes it just a little bit easier for us. So we're grateful for your opportunity. Folks, John Phillips, Vice Presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party of the U.S., joining us in about 4 minutes. We'll be right back.